Hey, welcome back to the Métropole Grid. My name is Andre. Thanks so much for tuning in. Parhelion, the latest set from Null Signal Games, has just been out now for a couple days, and so I have a deck dive for you today in the standard format to show you a new op combo kill deck. I feel like every expansion, this is how we open up. I'm a big fan of op, and we have a bunch of new cards in this set, and we're going to be using them to pull them at instant speed to surprise runners with some pretty interesting and splashy flatlines. So let's dive through the deck. Firstly, of course, we're starting with op. My favorite ID, I think, in the standard format by a mile. This 4515 came out in Midnight Sun. And if you're not familiar, it says once per turn, when you trash one of your resed installed cards, you can go get a card from your deck with the res cost 1 less than what was trashed and install it and res it for free, for no clicks. Admittedly, the trashing probably took a click, but this ability is immensely powerful and allows you to play a lot of like very interesting and maybe spicy cards, maybe one-ofs in your deck that you can pull out with some consistency when the time is right and hopefully for no clicks at all. And we're going to use that to great advantage and hopefully flatline some runners. So to talk about this deck, let's first start with Agenda Suite. And with the agendas, we're running 8 agendas. One of them isn't above the law. It's just a 3-2 agenda we're playing because it's good enough and we can fast advance it, but it's not very important to the deck. And the second one here is STS drone deployment. This is a 5-3 agenda. The text on it is obviously nice and it protects itself in the early game, but it's not that important to our deck list. We just wanted to have another 5-3 agenda. But the ones that are very important are all these agendas in the middle, ASIEF Protocol and CityWorks Project, because these are all agendas that do damage, either when accessed or stolen, or when you score them out. ASIEF Protocol is really important for this deck. This came out, mind you, in Midnight Sun, and it's a 3-2 agenda, which is very important. That means that we can fast advance this agenda. We'll look at that in a second. But when you score this thing out, you're forced to trash one of your installed cards. Now, normally that's a pretty big downside, but in op, we can trash one of our resed cards to go get something from our deck and get it on the table at instant speed. And there's some really interesting interactions with this. On top of that, when you score this, it does 2 meat damage, which means if a runner goes too few on cards in hand, if they're ever holding only 1 card in hand, this can be a surprising flatline. So firstly, we have a bit of fast advance in this deck. We have 2 copies of Audacity, a standard staple at this point, that allows you to put 2 advancements on a single card as long as you throw your HQ into the bin. So the idea is you can install your ASIEF, advance it once, and then Audacity, and you can score 3-2, which means if the runner ever drops down to 1 card in hand and you have the ASIEF and the Audacity in hand, you're kind of good to go. Now, the big thing here, though, the 2 meat damage is relevant, is the fact that we are forced to trash one of our installed cards, and we actually can use that to great function. One of the spicy cards we're playing in the list is the new card Viera, who came out again. This is from Parhelion, and while Viera is 4 influence, it says whenever an agenda is scored or stolen, you may reveal the runner's grip, and you get a trash 1 card revealed that way. Now, the weird timing here is that when you score the ASIEF Protocol, you have to trash a card as a cost to score this, so that fires, which means op fires, and so the Viera is on the table when the ASIEF Protocol is considered to be scored, which means that the Viera will fire, as long as you can trash a 4-coster, and mind you, we have a lot of 4-costers from our deck. Which means that if you can have a 4-coster resed, not a hard thing to do, and you can fast advance or score out an ASIEF, it technically does 3 damage. Firstly, the Viera fires, you can take 1 card out of the runner's hand, and then the ASIEF fires, which again, will flatline a runner with 2 cards in hand. And this is something that runners might not expect, and this deck is actually really good at setting up situations in which the runner will have fewer cards in hand, so the Viera into ASIEF flatline will actually connect. We'll show you what those are, of course. The other agenda, of course, is CityWorks Project. This is a big 5-3 agenda. The public subtype means that it's installed face up, which means the runner is going to have perfect information of what this is. But while this agenda is just a brick of a blank 5-3 in central servers, when you put in a remote server and then on top of that start advancing it, it becomes very hard for the runner to steal. When they access this thing when it's installed, they have to take 2 meat damage plus 1 more meat damage for every advancement. So if you do the classic install advance and threaten to score this out the next turn, the runner's going to have to take 4 meat damage. Now we have, again, other ways to protect them to make that much scarier, but the idea here is if the runner ever dips to 2 low cards in hand, and we can score out an ASIEF Protocol, maybe also throw a Viera on top of that, we can flatline them out of nowhere, which is good fun and a fantastic agenda for this deck. But let's talk about some of the assets in the deck and some of the new cards from Parhelion. This is Reaper Function. This 2-influence Jinteki asset costs 3 to res, and that res cost of 3 is perfect because we have so many ways to go find this from our deck, being 3, and we have so many 4-costers. When your turn begins, you may trash this, that also fires up, to do 2 net damage to the runner. So a big thing here is that if the runner ever runs later in the turn, maybe last click, we have so many ways to trash 4-cost cards in the deck. Be it something like Border Control, a staple of the standard format and basically an auto include in every op deck. The idea is you can trash the Border Control last click. You've now ended the run. You've now also trashed a 4-coster, so you can go get a 3-coster from your deck, and then you can use that to go get a Reaper Function, which will be on the table, resed, and installed at the beginning of their turn. which means the Reaper function, you can fire that for free to do 2 net damage, and then the runner has less cards in hand, so maybe at that point the Audacity into the Azief into the Viera will fire even more consistently. So that's a big thing here. If the runner ever runs too late in the turn, we have so many ways to pull the Reaper functions, and this adds more damage. So ideally, if we do Reaper function into Azief, into Viera, that's a 5 damage combo. So if the runner has less than 4 cards in hand, they're generally flatlined. Again, there's things we have to play around like Steel Skin Scarring and Stoneship Chart Room, but more often than not, we can surprise runners out of nowhere and get that cheeky flatline. Other cards in the deck, we talked about Viera. We of course have 3 Rashida Yahims. This is just a good enough asset in standard. It's one of the best assets you can play in the standard format. Cards and credit are fantastic. We have 2 Regolith. This is just a good enough card, and it works really well with Op. The idea is that you can trash this when it's done to go get a 1-coster from your deck. You can pull it by trashing 3 costers to get consistent economy on the table, and it's just a nice way to get money quickly. Now, of course, we have 3 Spin Doctors. Not much has to be said. It's actually a lot better in this deck than some other decks on the basis that we have some 1-costers that we can trash in instant speed to go get this. And let me tell you, if you're playing in the Jinteki.net casual lobby right now, there's a heck of a lot of sabotage. So having access to Spin Doctors when and if you need them is quite valuable right now. We talked about the Viera. Those are asset packages, and the Reaper function, it's a big one here. A lot of people are not playing around this, of course. It's a big surprise. For the operations, we talked about 2 Audacities. It's super important that we're able to fast advance and do that 2 meat damage plus any more damage from hand. So that's why we're playing that. We have 3 Hedge Fund because we need some economy, and then 3 Extract, which is one of the best ob cards in the game. It allows you to get 6 credits, 3 credits at a minimum, but 6 credits is a lot and allows you to fire your op at or when you need it. So sometimes you're trashing, like a Regolith that only has some money left on it, and then you're getting a 1-coster. You're trashing something like an Ice Wall, a 1-cost ice that doesn't really matter in the mid to late game to go get a Spin Doctor or Rashida, or let alone just trashing a 5-cost or 4-cost ice to get a 3-cost ice and 6 credits is not that big of a deal. It's not a huge downgrade, so Extract is fantastic. On top of our upgrades, we have a single Malapert. It's just to make sure that the deck has enough 1-costers. It's a really big thing when you're building op decks. You want to make sure that you have enough cards on each res cost value, on each play cost, to make sure that if you're trashing a 2-coster, you have something relevant to get. And Malapert's nice enough. This deck definitely in hand wants to have an Audacity whenever it can. So this is generally what we pull if we're not pulling for economy. We have 2 Yakov, a new card, and I thought actually playing 2 of these might be too much. It's really easy to think that in your op deck, you'll be able to tutor a card when you need it, but having 2 seems to be the sweet spot here. This card is really wild. It's like quietly a very, very strong card, specifically in op. On its own, when you res it, you're generally only going to res it when something else is getting trashed, which means that at basis, it's generally credit neutral. And then this deck has so many ways to trash your own cards, which means this card just gets more and more value over time. Things like border control, things like trashing your stuff to extract, things like a Regolith finishing or Rashida firing, they all give you credits on Yakov. And even when the runner trashes it, you get your money back. So this thing actually turns out to be a lot more money than it might look. I'm a big fan of Yakov. And then finally, Zato City Grid, 3 of these as an upgrade. This is a very, very flashy and very powerful card from Parhelion. And the beauty with this card is it allows us to destroy our ice at instant speed when they're encountered it to fire a subroutine. The subroutine just resolves, which means if our deck cares so much about making sure the runner has few cards in hand to set up some sort of kill combo, this is a thing that can guarantee damage. We haven't talked about our ice, but we have so much ice that does net damage, that does some amount of damage where if the runner runs into this, maybe they face check into it and take the 2 net damage. But maybe in the later game when they have their breaker, we can just ensure that this is doing 2 damage. And this is the beauty here with Zato. If say there's a CityWorks project in the remote server and the runner runs it, we don't have to end the run. We can just do 2 net damage, and now they have less than 4 cards in hand, so then they can't steal that. Same idea is that they have just fewer cards in hand and they're making runs, then that might be able, if they're running last click, mind you, we can trash the Unsmiling Serevna to do 2 net damage, and then at instant speed, using our op ability, pull the Reaper function, which means that's a 4 net damage play that of course sets up everything else we have. This thing is really quite powerful. You can also use this just to tutor things. Maybe you can again trash an Ice Wall to get a Spin Doctor to save the agenda in the remote server, trash your 3-cost ice to go get a Regolith if you need money. But Zato City Grid is incredibly important, and we have so many good things, a lot of damage stuff, but even end the run on the remote server, especially on the last turn, is really quite good. And then lastly, we just have ice. And again, our ice, we have a lot of 4-costers to ensure that we're trashing our stuff to go get the Reaper function when it matters. But we have 3 border control because it's just kind of a beast. On its own, you can trash this last click to again get the Reaper function or the Viera, but you can also trash this to go get a 3-coster. They have to run the server again, and then you can have a 3-cost barrier or 3-cost code gate that they might not be able to deal with. And that ensures in the early game you can score out some agendas. While this deck can actually score at the 7, a bit more than I thought it could, you often will score out a CityWorks when the runner can't contest it. You'll try and rush out your first 3-2 agenda, and then you'll fast advance the last one. So having that obviously powerful ability to ensure that in the early game when they don't have a lot of breakers, a lot of ways to deal with ice, this is one of your best things. Top of that, we have 2 envelopments. This is a 5 cost. This is the most expensive card in the deck, and envelopment is just really good in op. And once this ticks down, it eventually just becomes a 4 coster as long as your op ability hasn't fired. And when it starts with 4 end the run subroutines, it's one of the best cards in the game versus all the common stuff you expect from runners. Things like Boomerang, Bontulus, and Boat Endurance. So this thing is fantastic in op. We have a single ice wall. I want to make sure we're playing enough 1 costers, and with things like Zato City Grid and the 3 extracts, it's actually really easy to ensure we're getting value from this, either a hard end the run in the early game, and late game this becomes a Spin Doctor or Rashida based off of what we need. And again, access to Spin Doctor with Summon Sabotage is really good. We have a single Sandstone. It's a 3-cost barrier that we can pull if we need something. I do think this deck might not have enough 3-costers. I do think you might want to free up and play 1 more 3-cost, say a Code Gate, because we do have more barriers than that. And it's just nice always to be able to trash your border control to get something that they might struggle to break. On that note, we have 1 Afshar for that same reason, a 3-cost Code Gate. I would consider playing 2 of these because it's actually not that difficult to be in the mid game and have drawn all your 3-cost ice, and then your op value when you're trashing your 4-costers is only your assets that do damage. And that only is relevant really if they're running last click, which they generally shouldn't be doing, and that's something that we'll talk about in a second. That's because of Anvil. This is a new card from Parhelion that I wanted to try out, and it's performing really interestingly. This card has 2 good enough subroutines, a 2-credit swing, and the runner trash is one of their installed cards. But the big thing on Anvil is that the runner can never count on breaking this. As long as you can trash one of your other installed cards, and it doesn't have to be rezzed, but rezzed is better with op, you can ensure that this will fire. But the big thing with this card is that if the runner ever runs into this last click, even if they couldn't break it anyways, you probably can still consider the top text and trash one of your 4-costers, which means if they're running last click, you can trash a 4-cost ice to go get, that Reaper function and put it into a new remote server, which is going to ensure that you start the turn doing 2 net damage, which helps you set up all your combos. This thing's really good, and I think players have to stop running into this last click. I think it's something that's going to come with learning, with just playing more of the Parhelion card pool. But running into this last click, even if you're not doing a combo kill deck, is a bit of a mistake usually, because that means that the op deck can pull out fast advance pieces and put them on the table, and there's just a lot you're allowing them to do when you're allowing them to op last click without being able to interact with the stuff they're pulling out from their deck. We have 3 Mouseless. This is probably where you can cut one of them, but this is a good enough card. It's just hard for just about anyone to break efficiently. It does a net damage, which is fantastic. It does also do a tag, which is another thing the runner has to deal with after they face checked into this. So that's generally a click that they're not drawing up and fixing their hand size problems. This card's actually pretty good also with Zato City Grid, where you can decide to just pitch it to go get a 3-coster and do a net damage, which is what you want to do anyways. So just generally a good enough include. And for sentries, it gets a bit weird. Formicary is a common enough card in op decks, but it mostly because of the way it interacts with approach things. Things like Managarm Skunkworks, there's this unintuitive interaction where you have to pay the Managarm cost twice. And Formicary is not that good with this deck. Again, I want to play enough 2-costers, but this is not a really good 2-coster to pull with your op ability because then it'll be rezzed and then you can't do the cool part of what Formicary does. But on its own, its subroutines are actually kind of relevant. Either end the run or 2 net damage. Those are both things that we care about as a deck. And if you throw this into someone with Zato, they'll generally pick the net damage. And that sets up the sort of surprise that we like with our deck. It's not bad. It's just not as good as other decks. Finally, Unsmiling Saryevna, a new sentry from Parhelion. I think this card's fantastic. People are face checking into this all the time because they're not expecting a lot of sentries in op and Weyland, barring stuff that maybe trashes programs. And the face check on this thing for 4 credits and 2 influence is phenomenal. Almost all of these subroutines are incredibly relevant. Again, the runner might be a bit more scared of tags, and this deck could actually probably play a single copy of End the Line just to threaten the tag and lower hand size as well. But they're just really good subroutines. If the runner can break with this, you can give them 2 credits to make sure that one part of this does fire. They can only break 1 subroutine, and they're all pretty good subroutines. And of course, it's a 4-coster, which means you can trash it to get a 3-coster if you need to. And of course, if you Zato this into the runner's face, you can ensure they take 2 net damage. And this is the exact setup where you fire this into the face, do 2 net damage with the Zato, and then get a Reaper function on the table. And it's just kind of really good and really fun and really tricky. That's his list. I've been having a lot of fun with it, and this is pretty early. I do think there could be some refinements. I do think getting another 3-cost ice in here is good. Maybe we can play fewer anvils, maybe 1 fewer Mouseless, but just the surprise potential right now is fantastic. Currently in JNet, I've been playing mostly into Anarchs and a lot of core damage Anarchs. So while they have the potential to have bigger hand size with Marrow, they are also hurting themselves constantly and lowering their hand size. And that's been pretty fun. You have to play around Steelskin Scarring, but this thing can just surprise runners, setting up really awkward situations with the CityWorks project. And if they run the wrong Zato server, out of nowhere, the fast events can be lethal. Now, going forward, I do think there's things you could consider with this deck. Again, we talked about how End of the Line is actually a possibility. With Zato, we can kind of confirm tags, right? We can just trash anywhere ice that gives a tag to make sure the runner, hopefully last click, has a tag. And if they have lower cards in hand, because inherently that's what our deck does, we could get a possible win condition here. Now, I'm a bit softer on the end of the line because there's a lot more people playing no one home, or sorry, no free lunch, which means that they can clear tags pretty on tempo. I do think, though, if you want to do that, there's other ways you can tune the deck to make that a bit more consistent. Ping is a nice include. You can res it, give a tag, also Zato it in the face, and the 2-cost slot is actually pretty good in this deck. You can also pull it when you trash, I guess, a 3-coster with Zato to get the ping to fire into res, and that's kind of nice. I think on top of that, you could consider also other stuff like Prisec, which is really nice. If you can trash a 1-coster, maybe you're playing things like, I don't know, Tithe to do net damage, and then they've confirmed to Access, and then you can go get a 0-coster on the table. This card actually represents really well what the deck wants to do anyways. And if you have another fork with end of the line, this can go a bit further. And I think that's the biggest problem when playing this deck is the more I play it, the more I realize there's like different interesting combos you can do. Reaper Function is phenomenal in this deck. It's like a really big surprise. But what I've been figuring out is that like when you trash the Reaper Function, you're not getting anything from your deck usually. And that's usually fine because you're going to score an AZF and probably get a Viera. But I'm just thinking of all the other combinations you can do with the Reaper Function. There's a big chance you can play Op and fire the Reaper Function. And then because you trash this thing first, you should be able to pull out a Sturgotic Resonator from your deck. And then if this hits an in-faction card, just don't play against Nova, this will get a counter too. So in theory, you can get 1 click for 3 net damage somewhat consistently if you do a Reaper Function into a Sturgotic Resonator. And that sounds really cool. Top of that, maybe this is the sort of acid-based deck like Hostile Architecture that you're putting out, and then you're making it really difficult for the runner to deal with your stuff, and out of nowhere, the Reaper into Sturgotic, and you're probably playing Bladderwort too. Like, that's probably a real deck. And at the risk of running too many op decks on this channel for weeks on end, I'm probably going to let that one aside for a bit. And I think the last thing that's really interesting is the Viera in our deck is 4 influence, and it's pretty big. It's probably not the best inclusion for 4 influence, but it does open up a lot of flashy kill options. You even see Viera for value is like not the worst thing in the deck. But I think in the slot, you could probably just play Dr. Vinch and Keeling. It's not that hard to get this installed on the table right when the runner's about to end their turn when they've run last click, and this will give them -2 hand size. It's something that they have to deal with, which means you can kind of make them run through that Zato server, and the Zato server sets them up for the additional flatline, and they're already at low hand size. So I think there's a chance that Viera, while it's more active when you want to go for the combo kill directly and pulling with the Azief, this is a possibility, and it's actually like a very, very difficult card that the runner has to deal with. It's also 4 influence, and it's on 3, so you can find it very consistently. And that's the deck. It's Funeral Barge. Here's a bunch of gameplay of us playing it. Again, it's a standard illegal deck, and it's just a lot of fun, a lot of flashy kills. I'm really enjoying Op, and anytime there's more assets printed, more ice printed that has those good numbers, 4, 3, 2 on it, you know you can do something pretty exciting. Hopefully enjoy the games. Again, if you want to give this video a like or subscribe to the channel, it greatly helps us grow. Enjoy. All right, we're out here playing some Gravekeeper Op. We're an Op deck that has a burst kill potential through some Op combo. We have in our opening hand the new Ice Anvil, which I'm trying out. I don't think it's the best slot for this deck. It's kind of new, so that's fun. And we have the Reaper Function. We have 2 of these, but we want to keep these in our deck because the idea is we can pull them out at instant speed and combine them with other damage like Azief Protocol, and we're even playing Vera just to try and get a flatline. This hand's like kind of rubbish. I'm going to mulligan it. This is the second Null we played against today, and in a row, and I'm not sure why. Is there any new Null support in Parhelion? We'll find out. If you're not familiar with Null, Null can discard a card from their hand. Again, Steelskin Scarring now works with this ability to lower the strength of ice you're encountering by 2, which helps if you're running the fixed strength breakers, Buzzsaw, Cleaver, Mimic, stuff like that. But otherwise, it's kind of hard to get a lot of value from it. There's a lot of ways, especially in Parhelion, to increase the strength of breakers as opposed to decrease. And decrease largely matters mostly when it comes to ice destruction. So we'll see if that comes into play, Chisel and all that. Here we're going to do it in 2 installs and a credit. Ideally, we're going to try and jam the Above the Law behind an early envelopment, which is really hard for a lot of folks to deal with. Admittedly, you can Chisel and Devil Charm it if they have all that in their hand to lower the strength down to 0, and then none of the text on it really matters. Otherwise, we're going to try and score it. If we can empty liberated accounts with an Above the Law, we'll actually look real cute. Ooh, and there's a chance that might land up. Top of R&D, we don't have that many agendas in the deck. Again, we have City Works projects. We're actually not amazing at scoring out. And they trash a Reaper Function going down to 2 credits, so they might end up emptying more of the liberated. Here we have a choice between the Rashida and the Above the Law. I'm going to try and do a bit of both, right? So this maybe distracts them so they don't empty the liberated accounts out as much. They also saw this card, so they might think they were on weird traps, so maybe they don't check it. But if we didn't have the agenda and they didn't have it and the resource, we definitely score out or protect the Rashida. But here we're going to try and be a bit greedy. It's even possible that we do both. Oh, okay, less good. Play a daily cast, please. Keiko, I don't know if we trash liberated accounts. Let's just see what we draw off of this and then decide from there. So we're going to draw 3, gain 3. Makes you think that there's something much more interesting in server 1. We're not going to find a -1 card. Thank you, op. Technically, you're allowed to search. And manage our draw. Okay, cool. So we have some cool stuff here. We have a Yakov, which is a very powerful new card. We have a Zato Grid, which is quite good. We have a border control for server 1. So I do think we're going to greed off in the remote server a bit and just kind of wait until we can score this out a bit better. That will be a turn where we're not dumping our whole hand. So let's just set up the server a bit. And while we do have a Zato City Grid, it's not something we really need right now. I do think we're just going to ice up R&D a bit. Here they probably slam HQ, which I think we're okay with. It'll drop us to maybe 6 credits if the subroutine fires on this thing. This is the sort of card that they probably want to Chisel Charm. Devil Charm Chisel, because it's really hard to break. Ooh, don't mind if I do trash that. Please don't touch it. Please just install another card. Oh man, taking down Liberty cancel 16 on it. I don't think I've done that yet with Above the Law. Maybe you just want to draw here last click, right? Oh no. And they're popping it right away. So there you see the K2CP turbine. One of the big reasons why I don't think you really want to play Null that much. You also see a Mimic here. And you see a Buzzsaw, so that's a code gate breaker. And if they do put them to K2CP, the Buzzsaw actually breaks the mouseless for only 1.5 credits. 1 credit if you want, 2 credits fully. But we're going to bring the liberated counts down, which is potentially quite powerful. And this card, mind you, is Yakov, which is not going to do anything, but it allows us to get more money off of Rashida, allows the Zato to be profitable, allows border control, let alone envelopment, getting something and trashing itself to be profitable. But putting down a Mimic here kind of respects not too much. While we do have sentries in the deck, a lot of the sentries you might be expecting in this list can be like 7 strength Stavkas. So I'm not sure. I do think that maybe the Buzzsaw is a bit expensive, but we'll see if this Mimic actually comes into play. They're going to remove a Sure Gamble and a Gachapon from the deck, and we are going to bring down to 16 credit liberated accounts. Can't ask for better. Advance, advance, advance. Score. Good night. Ooh, that's a good hit. One of in the deck, can't play around it. And now we have access to our SDF protocol. So the idea is I think we want to stabilize a bit more on the board for money, doing the Yakov Rashida play. And then from there, we basically want to get an IZF protocol on the remote server and have the runner run into something like a 4-coster, like a border control, and then have that be meaningful. Here, what do we need to ice up? I think we'd rather protect the mouseless, so I think a single access off the top of R&D is probably fine. Again, our deck doesn't have a lot of agendas. One of them is an SDS join deployment, which is kind of expensive to steal. They trashed a Yakov, so they can go back for another card, but they really need to figure out what their economy is here. Because having 3 credits means that they're in no way threatening to run the remote server. And that means we can very comfortably put the Rashida in, let alone the Azef or even the City Works. If we had more money, I think we'd be more interested in the City Works. Again, we're not playing to score out. We're trying to do, you know, the cool 5 meat mixed net damage combo, which we're kind of getting there slowly, I hope. Steel Skin Scarring is hard to play around. Yeah, JNet's a bit inconsistent right now. Now they're running a server, so we can decide what we want to res. If we res the border control here, it'll cost us only 2 credits. I think we want to do that. Again, they don't have a Fractor. Otherwise, they can get in and trash the Yakov, which we don't want that to happen either. So they're going to get a bit of information on our ice. Admittedly, border control is really hard to Chisel Charm because we can just pop it at instant speed and get Yakov ability, which is quite nice. But I think we're going to install the Rashida here and click for credit. We haven't seen a Fractor yet, but if they are on Cleaver, which makes sense with a turbine, it's pretty good. We're going to be on 4 credits, so we can install credit, and then we should be able to res at least 1 ice this turn. That's the only issue. CityWorks project doesn't do anything on central servers. If we install advances, that's 4 meat damage, which is a big cost. But extract is really interesting. Is it ever worth, if we had 5 credits, it sometimes is right to install the Zato, res the Yakov. So in theory, we could like install Zato, credit, res both of them, and then make this into a 2-coster gaining, you know, it's not very great. I think we're just gonna put the Rashida and click for credits. Depending on what their breaker suite is, like eventually we might just get rid of the Sandstone if it's low strength. But yeah, Extract is a very powerful card. It's 8 credits if you do something on this server with Yakov. Install a daily cast going down to 0, so there's probably not much they can do this turn. Running Last Click is a bit scarier now with Mouseless. And they played a Steel Skin Scarring, which is always good to try and keep track of those because we do care about those if we're trying to go for a combo kill. And we might just be able to rush out. And maybe we'll see none of the new cards besides Yakov, who is very quite good. That's the last Gachapon. Maybe that gets them some consistency. They can pop it now if they want to. We're going to res both of our cards in the server. So while we pay 2 for this, now Yakov is definitely going to be at least credit neutral. And a 5 credit Rashida just feels good if you forget that you spend 2 credits to get here. All right, huge draw here. Probably going to attract some HQ pressure. Again, we've only scored out 1 agenda and we've gone through about 20 cards in our deck. Order here. We're not going to search for -1. All right. Mandatory draw. So we actually have a potential, 3 damage combo. If we fast advance out the Audacity. We want to get the Unsmiling Serena in the server if we're going to specifically do a Zato play. I feel like we might need extract credits, and this is any card. Okay, any card. It doesn't have to be rezzed. So it doesn't really make sense to put the ice wall there and extract it. Ideally, it's going to be rezzed when we do that. So I think we want to put the Serena on server 1. Don't have a lot of money. We're definitely going to have to extract something. That was a bit expensive, honestly. We could actually extract Yakov himself. I'm not sure if he gives us the money. 1-costers in the deck is just largely Malapur. That honestly might be the better, like the best tempo plays to extract Yakov himself. Ideally, we get this ice wall rezzed on HQ. All right, we're going to throw out the big one. Now, this could look like an agenda. Now, if it's just a 3-2 agenda, there's not that many you have to worry about. It's just the one of Above the Law. Dirty Laundry. We're going into the Sandstone here. If we res this as a most of our money, the single axis here, we know where 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We know where almost half the agendas in our deck is. I don't think we have to let oh, actually, if we end the run, though, they don't have money, and that's just kind of good. Yeah, I'm just going to end the run. They could catch up on here for like a botulist. That would be the only bad thing. But like, if this run's not successful, they lose out a lot of money. So they're not even going to crack the Gachapon. They could look for Botulus, but they could have gone Archives there if they really wanted to. Yeah, it's a bit risky to run central servers. And unfortunately, we just don't have money. We could consider, and maybe we will extract the Sandstone to get a Regolith, and then we can just put a border control in R&D. And there's a Mystic Miami, so a lot of events. Yeah, I do think we have to do that. I do think we are gonna extract this. 2-cost. Just get some money. We don't have any 2-cost dice. Oh, we do have Formicary, but we don't want that res. Let alone they have a Mimic. So we'll put that in server 1. This again, when it trashes itself, you get money. So we'll put this on R&D, and then we'll just hit this. And this is another really good card to extract eventually to get this to be a Malapur Data Vault. But next turn, we probably want to just jam the City Works in. I want to go for the kill. I think we were pretty able to score out. Like, they just don't have a robust economy, and they're not really presenting the necessary breakers, the relevant breakers. Well, I'm worried a bit about Ice Destruction. At least here we have Zato Serevna, so we can just do 2 net damage. If we pay them credits, they cannot break more than one of the printed subroutines. I wonder which one they'll break. They probably will let us have 2 cards. That's usually one of the ones that seems the least relevant immediately, but it is very powerful. Or we can just throw this at them with Zato, which will cost us 7, but we get 5. Or we get 2 back, so it's 5. They're just drawing up. There's a twinning, so we have to watch out about central servers, that's for sure. We'll see if they produce breakers to continue to threaten that. But otherwise, we could just jam in the CityWorks project and then next turn, like Azief out. So yeah, they're just not pressuring enough. So that's probably the most aggressive thing, is just install Advanced Event CityWorks. The other options, we can again do 3 damage with the Azief protocol. We can also play a bit slow, where we just hit this. I think we play a bit slow. While we could play the hedge fund, I like it in hand, padding out the agendas. And now next turn, we can definitely push out on top of this. If we overinstall the Regolith, we don't get Yakov credits, but now like we have a Zato into a lot of end the runs. They're popping their Gachapon, and here they have a Mystic Miami. They can't, well, they could play a Paladin Puemo, and that's it. It's just Paladin Puemo. So that's going to come down for free, which is good. You want to do that at the end of our turn, so it's there for start of turn, so it does charge up. And then that's really good with Keiko too. It actually makes credits. And then they can remove some stuff from the game. You can remove a Keiko from the game. You can remove a Mystic from the game for sure. And then you get all your like Mystic Miami event-based economy. But they just haven't produced breakers. So kind of anarchy and consistency here. Again, bin breakers are big and standard and allows you to play like moshing, allow you just to discard and destroy your stuff and not have to worry about taking the clicks to draw and then safely install them. There's a cleaver. Okay, so now barriers are not safe, but again, it's not a lot of money to their name. Servers are looking okay. But here's we're going to push out with the CityWorks project and then probably end the game. We could have done this a turn sooner. All right. Install, trashes that. Again, Yakov does not care, and we'll do advance. So this thing requires them to take 4 meat damage. On top of that, we can guarantee that we do 2 more damage with Unsmiling Serena, and then get an Ob ability to get something like a Reaper function, which makes things quite difficult. But we'll see now if they hit central servers. They do need to play an event this turn, or Mystic Miami is a bit hungry. Dirty Laundry. You can go just archives here if you want. There you go, charging up the twinning. Pretty scary. But the Null ability hasn't fired once. All right, we're running. Okay, so we have to think of what to do here. So if they steal this, they kind of just die, right? Like if they do steal this, they kind of just die. All right, so if this is 4-me damage, again, they could have Steel Skin Scarrings, which makes us a bit easier. That's something we have to play around. So I think we can just res the Unsmiling Serevna and give them 2 credits and see what happens. We can Zato it later. Okay, you have 2 credits, so you can only break 1 subroutine on this. Us drawing 2 cards is not that important. Giving the runner a tag is important because they have a twinning and they could be scared of things like end of the line. Doing 2 net damage is incredibly important, unless they're really counting on hitting a Steel Skin Scarring, because the City Works project, again, is 4-me damage. But it's a Serena, so it's up to them. We save them credits. They're going to break this, let's say that, but at least the subroutines will fire, and that should be an issue for them. We did give them money. It was a 6-credit swing. And then when we force them to come back with the border control, we can Zato. So, like, this is a pretty secure server. All right, so they're going to take a tag. We can draw 2 cards. Yeah, okay. We'll draw 2 cards. All right, fantastic. Continue. So they have a tag, which means if we border control them, it's their choice of whether they want to go back or not. We could protect this, definitely. Like, we have Zato. I don't think we're going to need to. Oh, 1 second. Are the lights misbehaving? No, the lights seem okay. All right, it's a border control. They break that for 1. And now if they want to run back, it's either the choice between the tag or hitting this. So we're going to make things really ugly here. So they break this for 1 credit with Cleaver. They continue moving. If we break this, we only, again, for them to break this, it's a fair bit of money, but I don't think we need to res it. So I think we're just going to border control to gain 2 credits. And then we're going to put a Reaper function on the table, right? Actually, probably not. No, I think we have to like scare them with the Zato. I think they would just force them to run back. So we'll end the run. Again, we could just get a code gate to keep them out. So we'll get Yakov credits. Seems good. And then we'll find a 3-coster from our deck. And here we could get a Vera, which means if they steal it, they don't die because Vera is, the timing on Vera is a bit different. We could get a Reaper function. We also could get a Zato if we didn't have one, but we do have one. And while they're not unique, they can't be in the same server. So I think we can get a Reaper function here. And if they go trash that, I think we're totally fine with it. Otherwise, if they run back, like the Serevna, we just throw at their face. So I do think we get the Reaper function. And just put it in a new remote server. Again, we could just get a code gate and keep them out, but I like the fork that we can build here. So now if they steal it, they definitely die. Funny enough, if they don't deal with the Reaper function too, and they don't have Steel Skin Scarrings, oh, because they cleared the tag. There's a chance they're actually flatlined here. I think there's a chance that they flatline here because they cleared the tag instead of dealing with the Reaper function. So we start a turn, we hit the Reaper function, it does 2 net damage, we just don't want to hit a Steel Skin Scarring. We can get a 2-coster from our deck. We don't want to do that. So we didn't hit any of them. So what we're going to do now, and we just have to hope there's no Steel Skin Scarring in hand, but I think this is the play, just around the Steel Skin Scarring is going to be pretty goofy. So then we do install into a new remote server, we advance this once, and then we Audacity it. We score it. So we trash a 4-coster. We go get 2 credits. We go get a 3-coster from our deck. We get a Vera. We put Vera into a new remote server. We do Vera first, which allows us to look at the hand, reveal the grip, and trash a card on Vera. So we're going to trash a buffer drive. And then we get 2 lethal damage from the Azef protocol. Oh, that totally worked. And that actually would have worked as long as we didn't hit the Steel Skin Scarring on the Reaper. But that combo is really kind of wild. The idea that this can do damage out of nowhere. And you can get it on the table and still trigger it before the Azef scores, which is really good because this doesn't do damage if they don't have cards in hand. But yeah, that was a real awkward fork there, right? Because it's either the tag or the 4-meat damage or the 2 net damage or, this combo that can suddenly do, what did we do? We did 5 damage in a turn. That's pretty cool. That's what this deck wants to do. And I do think we could have just scored out a bit faster, but kind of wanted to set that up a bit. Cool. That was really fun. All right. So the combo technically works and that's really good. And we could have probably just scored this out and then Audacity next turn, but that's much more flashy, isn't it? Let's play another one. All right. We're playing against 419. We need to have good economy and we have to make sure HQ is not cheaply open. It's a big thing in Parhelion with things like Wake Implant, let alone just, diversion of funds. That's a problem. So this opening hand's like, okay, we're basically 1 ice away from being in a really good spot. Thanks, you two. Because right now we have to generally ice HQ before we ice the remote server. So we can keep this. But we do need to get an end to run ice. I do think we should drop definitely an anvil from this deck. I'm going to try and remind myself to do that between games. Because right now we're running 2 and it's better just have a 3-coster that ends the run. Oh, anvil, there you are. Love to see it. Now, if they face check into this, like, it's not really great. If we get diversion through it, at least we can duck a bit. But we do want the border control in the remote server. So I'm going to do HQ. We'll pay a credit here because they know they can diversion through this. We'll do new remote server and credit. If you do not know who 419 is, what he does, it says the first time you install a card, they'll see it. They'll expose it unless we pay a credit. So a lot of times against that, you want to make sure you have a strong economy because criminal just has economic denial. But the biggest thing on top of that is that you want to make sure your economy is good and you're installing multiple cards a turn. No one home, really interesting. That prevents net damage, and we actually do some amount of net damage, but that's just safety against tags as well. So we're just going to jam this. We could get pinhole threading. We're not going to pay a credit here because we're just going to res it and do this. So we basically spend our whole turn to get 4, but they have to interact with this. Or it could be a problem for them. But this is something that we need huge money to deal with it. We can't just like cheese out Reaper function. They're a tag me deck, and they're going to clear the tag. So we have more money than them. They also can't rely on their, what's it called? If we trash this, we get a 1-coster, and then we can install it, and it eats the 419 value. Is that worth it? I think we want to save that for next turn when we actually install another card. So I'm going to play this. But if we have more money than them, they can't rely on their Citadel Sanctuary to clear the tag. So here they're going to take a tag. Then they're going to clear the tag. So they can install the Archivist. Bad publicity, also has Trace on it. Pretty cool. This seems a bit slower. So we can probably need to go a bit faster than them. So we'll hit this, trashes it. We find a 1-coster. It's either the Malapur or the Ice Wall. I will double barrier on server 1's not amazing, but I think that's good enough. We're not really worried about R&D. They're not a full tag me deck. Like I don't think they're going to float tags. So here we probably want to go Rashida. That eats our install trigger, so 419 we don't have to worry about. Citadel also deals with meat damage. So I think we do this new remote. No, I don't think we do that too soon. Maybe we draw here, but that's ugly ordering. And then it's either we jam the Rashida or we do install it, but then we don't advance. So we'll push the Rashida. We might have to score out here because it's going to be hard to combo kill because they have no one home and all this sort of stuff. But Zato is something they can't really deal with that well. Class Act means they have a lot of cards, so not a great turn to jam in the CityWorks project, albeit they probably have a lot of things that are quite expensive and rare. So not quite expensive. They have a lot of one-ofs as programs go in criminal decks. All right, SDS is a really good install advance, but with this many cards in hand, we're going to try and be a bit careful. So we can put this on R&D. We can afford to pay 1 here. We can put this on server 1. Next turn, we want to install advanced SDS and then take down a breaker for sure. Because again, those are few and far between in criminal. What do we do here? Last click. We're going to discard a card for sure. We have way too many agendas. We could just do Spin Doctor in a remote server and then just draw. Next turn, we can discard here pretty freely. I don't think we want the CityWorks. I think we'd rather push the SDS on this point. Now, they can expose this. Yeah, falsified credentials. That's the one downside. They guess asset. I'm going to go res it right now. Fortunately, it does have a real downside. But that's the one bad play here. We could have put that in their remote server, actually. I'm not sure why we didn't, but they still would have exposed it like that. Now, Ice Wall is something we can extract to get another Spin Doctor if this one's gone, which is quite nice. Boost Trace. Oh, because of that. That's fine. We want that to go down. We're not going to boost the huge Trace there. So they use their No One Home. They have a Cyber Troop Talud, so now they have 2 link. So they're just links. Well, they have 3 link, mind you. I wonder if they're going to play Security Nexus. Earthrise Hotel, okay. Above the Law would be pretty okay if they're relying on a Citadel. But I think here we can just install advance this pretty safely. Damn, I avoided a lot of tags. All right, so what are we discarding here? Yakov is okay. It's always okay. Rashida's really good. Regulus is good. We don't really have a good extract board. Just putting Reaper on the table is something they'll have to deal with, which is kind of nice. I think it's probably these 2. But we're hoping they install something expensive like the Mina, and then we just like drone deployment it. There's only one of drone deployment. Like a Mockler is good enough. Hot Pursuit. Okay, so luckily this is an Anvil. We will res it. They're going to take a tag. Trash another card's not necessary because it just fires. But we could always trash something to do something, like do something with our board. Something op-like. But this is going to be a credit swing. And they have to trash an insult card, which, you know, I don't know. They seem to only have good cards. But they don't have any breakers, so this is going to fire. At least now they know they can diversion of fund us. So let's see what they trash. Maybe the Class Act. I think everything else is kind of necessary. Yeah, the Class Act goes. Okay, cool. So this is a huge card. A lot of money here. And luckily, the border control will probably connect. Now, if we pop this border control, we can go get a code gate, so they have to come back in the server with an actual code gate. But if we bring down the Maclo, that might mean they're out of programs. Res and Forma carry. Yeah, sure. Yeah. All right, so Forma carry moves over. Fire all, so it's end the runner to meet. We just want to do some amount of damage again. We do want to kind of loosen them up. So they lost the Twinning and Dawkins Pass. They lost both of their multi-access cards. I wonder if they're using the Twinning. They access a Reaper function. They could consider trashing that. Yeah, they're going to. They still have 14 credits to R14. They have a Malkler. Why is it? Yeah, right? We have a drone deployment in the remote server. It could look like an NGO front. There's a Citadel of Sanctuary though, so they can clear the tag clicklessly. That's a big thing here. Now, they have a lot of links, so it's going to be very expensive. We have to boost 15. It's literally not possible here, but that is a card that we need to bring down if we want to do meat damage to them. And now they also clicklessly install daily casts, reducing the cost, which is a really, really good click. But we are going to blow up a Mackler. Not that we have barriers on central servers, but they generally don't have a lot of those. Boost Trank. Oh, it's a bad publicity card. Wait, is security? Oh, it's a security card. Okay, so unfortunately they have bad publicity because this guy here, mind you, apologies if I haven't been highlighting some of these old standard cards. This gives a bad publicity on a trace if you score, was a research or initiative or security. And the subtypes of agendas almost never matter besides this one card that is 4 influence out of their 15. So they're already showing 17 influence on the table. Wait, not 17, that's 7. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 influence. So maybe they're on one nexus, but they're not showing a way to get in this remote server. Again, ASIF protocol, we could just kind of do. I do think we can just score this in a remote server. We can go get we can trash the anvil to get a sandstone. That's something. We can also just like fast advance out this ASIF, but it comes at a very real cost, which is everything. Here on the remote server, we had a Zato would be good. I do think we might just want to push the ASIF in the remote server and then just empty the regolith. It might just be good enough. No. Amakua is probably alive and well too, so we'll just hit that once. Just like clicking for a credit, but they know what it was anyways, and we want to res it, and then we'll put an ASIF in this remote server. So we haven't seen a boomerang yet or inside job. This server is all barriers, and we did trash the Mackler, but the big thing is the envelopment, or in theory, the border control can become something else. So they're going to go trash that for 2 with bad publicity. Not a good use of our card, but at least makes them spend their own time. No free lunch. Clears tags. I feel like, you know, they have a very greedy engine, so we're just going to try and win the game. Once we score this ASIF, any other 3-2 we top deck and above the law or the other ASIFs, we just Audacity from hand, as long as we have 1 credit. All right, you can clear the tag clicklessly, install something. Again, hitting the twinning there was pretty unlucky. There's a security nexus, so now they can run through our ice. All right. So, install advance. Or not even install, advance, and we can trash something here. The question is, what do we trash? I think the ice wall is actually like worth its salt. The Forma carry, Begalter will break this for free, so I think we can get rid of that. The question is, what are we getting? We can get a 1-coster here. The other option is to get something with, that's a 3-coster with Anvil. The Anvil is kind of annoying. I think we actually will trash the Anvil to go get Vera. This will do 3 pseudo damage. If they get Vera, they have to deal with it. We can also get a Zato for the remote server, which is kind of interesting, but I think we're going to fast advance out. Let's just take the worst card out of their hand. So do new remote. We'll do Vera first. We look at their hand and trash a card. So Begalter is important. Falsified credentials, not that important. Hot Pursuit is a lot of money. I'm just going to do the Begalter. Just get some program destruction in there. And now they take 2 more meat damage, which they can throw out their whole hand to cancel. So no matter what, we're going to hit Hot Pursuits, at least a Hot Pursuit, both Hot Pursuits. So they just have a falsified in their hand. And again, another security agenda. They have a lot of bad pubs, so this is going to come down cheap. But we just need a top deck and agenda. We just need a top deck a 3-2 agenda, and we should have it from here. But they can't deal with the Forma carry now besides Security Nexus, which is going to be, what, 1 credit maybe? But we've trashed 2 breakers so far, incidentally. This is a very greedy deck, it seems. They're going to get in for a single. Forma carry. Now, if you don't know Nexus, this is Sunny's console. It's going to be Trace 5. They already have 4 link, so we'd have to spend a lot. And even if we do spend enough to end the run, they just take a tag, which they can clear clicklessly and install a card. So not a real thing here. Hit the extract. Leaving the Vera on the table, again, doesn't really matter. We have another Spin Doctor here. Earthrise to draw. If we top deck, we win. We don't top deck, but so double Serevna on R&D is actually like quite mean. We haven't seen a single diversion, so that's kind of, you know, a bit worrisome. We know they have a falsified in hand, so I do think we put Rashida in the server and then we just do R&D, and do 2 ice. Pay no, because we want to resist to play around falsified to some extent. They actually have enough money. We'll just do R&D. These are cool too. Well, they can never break these because they probably only have 1 Begalter. They can trace through them, so the Serevna text doesn't matter. But that technically is the tag could empower them, but the net damage we can make fire because they can only break 1 of these as long as we res both of them, which will be all our money. Checking archives here. Oh, hold on. Whoops. I forgot a Spin Doctor. Yeah, please. We did forget a spin. It's been in there for a while. Thank you. So we're just going to undo that. Huge. Thank you. Yeah, it's been in there for a while. So they're going to threaten the Spin Doctor, which we want to have another Spin Doctor anyways. So we're going to get rid of that. They did know that was in there, so that gives them some information. And then what else do we want? We want to be able to win the game. So anything that draws cards is good. So Rashida's pretty good. And then we'll just do that. But now there's another 3-pointer in there. Immediately, if they stole that, we could trash a card from their grip. They'd be on 3 points, which is pretty scary. So I think we give them all the Serevnas here. So they can trace through this one, but the next one does 2 damage. And then if they steal an agenda, we can get rid of another card as well. Yeah, so this they're going to have to trace through, and if they continue, they can get hit by something. Now, there are technically Weyland cards that trash hardware, but it costs 7 if you're looking at Trebuchet, and I don't think they expect that. They're just going to jack out. They're just not going to boost the trace, and they're going to take a tag, which, again, they could have installed that clicklessly. Maybe they'll install something else. But we have Hoshiko here, so there's a big chance we draw into a 3-2 agenda. No free lunch installed clicklessly. So if we draw a 3-2, we have it in hand. Find a -1. No, thank you. Okay, so we don't have it, but we can still try and find it. So I think we do put something in server 1. I don't think we show. We res that. Okay, I do think we ice up HQ. That's hard for them to get through 2 ice. They haven't shown Coder yet, and I'm assuming they're going to play a Mina, which doesn't deal with Afshar that well, considering they can't break all the subroutines, so we won't lose a credit. And I think we just click for a credit here. We can always spin Doctor, but I kind of don't want to do that because if we draw the agenda, we can't score it out. So I'm just going to do this and hold on for another turn again. R&D is pretty safe. HQ only has 1 agenda in it. And we could install Advance in the remote server, and if we had more money, I'd be okay to do that. We still haven't got diversioned yet, and that's the one thing that our money can very quickly evaporate. But immediately, without a Mackler, there's, okay, Cat's Cradle. Without a Mackler, the remote server is actually pretty safe, even with the security nexus. Coming at 3 strength, we'll res the Afshar. Not a great res, but it means that it costs them something. Well, they only have 9 credits, 2 bad pub. They can lose a 2 bad pub to this and break for 1, so it's actually not that expensive. We fire the subroutine. Now this one they have to trace through. So 1 on 5 on HQ. Unfortunately, we don't have enough money for the Serevna. But at least if they trace through this, they can't go through the ice wall, I don't think. We probably are 1 credit too few here to feel comfortable. A single access on RD can cost us the game, I don't think. All right, they trace through that single access Audacity. Now they can be scared. They understand they have to put pressure on because we can fast advance 3-2 out from hand. Career Fair putting down another daily cast. The game's probably going to be over before that pays out anything. So they might just need to be aggressive here, but this is a very greedy deck, and we're going to draw 3 more. So big chance to find the agenda. No, thank you. We got it. So they can't stop fast advance, so we can go install. Yeah, you can't see what this is. Advance, Audacity. Choose 1 installed card. We'll trash that. We won't search. Good game. Yeah, I do think we got their 1 of Breakers twice, which was really good. It's hard to damage them. They're a very greedy deck. I was worried that the Diversion of Fun would be a bit more credit hungry. It was huge. Thanks, you too. And then we got the 1 of Begalter from hand, which is obviously unfortunate. And a lot of these criminal decks are only running 1 of each breaker. And there's so many cards in Parhelion that really threaten that. Like the Zato grid into trash program subroutines, let alone we can do all this other stuff. Like, look at their hand. All right, you don't have it. None of these are really that important. Wow, they have a lot of duplicates in hand. It's really fun. Really fun deck. I'm liking this one a lot. The Vera combos are actually quite interesting. Let's do another one. All right, we're playing against Soup Time, who's been watching some of our games in the lobby, so they might have an idea what we're up to, whether they keep the Steelskin Scarrings in hand, but they're just new enough to standard, so they're kind of jumping in. So good luck, have fun. Thanks to you too. Opening hand's pretty good. SDS drone deployment, not the best agenda against Anarchs that have bin breakers in standard that they can just reinstall, but we have an early Rashida behind an envelopment and a mouseless for centrals, and even economy. So while we generally pick only 3 of those 4 options, this is definitely a good enough hand. So again, our deck has the Reaper function, has the Vera to set up like lethal combos. The Zato with the Unsmiling Serevna has kind of been just a bit of a beast to make these really ugly forks. And the Zeph Protocol fast advance as doing 2 me damage is great. So we're going to keep HQ open again. SDS drone deployment is relatively safe, and we'll just put this behind an envelopment. The Mouseless, you can have it on a remote server. It's not bad, especially with the Zato deck that can make some really big forks. I wonder if we should just play 1 end of the line in the list too. Probably should. At least we can protect this, and that will give us more options and more economy. The early Rashidas are one of the best things in standard, of course. Just getting 3 cards and 3 credits before start of turn, that's like a whole turn worth of value. Now, a lot of times here, Hoshiko wants to run central servers to flip, to access cards. So Paladin Puemo coming down first means that if the agenda is stolen, you do get those credits up front. Fermenter coming down too, SDS a bit more less safe at this point. But yeah, it's if you're coming new to standard too, like a lot of the decks are a large portion of startup decks, or what used to be startup, mind you. This card rotated. So let's see if they hit the SDS. They hit the SDS. I hate to see it. We're now down 3 points. They can win on 2 axes if they want to trade this for their fermenter, which I think I reckon they should. Punitive Counter-Strike is not very popular in this format at all, and that's the only downside to stealing a 5-3 agenda if you don't have a strong economy. No free lunch though. That's some money. We'll get the Rashida, but yeah, huge hit off the top. Draw 3, gain 3. We can go find a -1. They don't really make those. Spin Doctor in the mode server is good. We do want to ice up our centrals. I think we should have caught an anvil by now. It's not performing that well in this deck, though it does give you some flexibility. I think we just put this in server 1 and ice up R&D, so it's hard for Hoshiko to get any value. Again, she's going to lose a credit and draw a card, but those installs are going to get pretty cheap with Paladin Puemo. We have to play like as if he has an extra 7 credits. Got the one in Malapur. Again, we want to get a Zatos. We don't find the Serevnas. We want to get all that on server 1, and then we want to score out. A CityWorks project would be pretty good right now because we do need to capitalize when there is low hand size. Yeah, so they played 1 Steelskin Scarring, again, super important against our deck, but it's not something you really value against op decks too heavily. But this is the one thing that's like the get out of jail free card, which is super, super impactful. Looks like we're installing something. Paperclip, a lot of times in standard, you just want to discard that. While you do get it down cheaper for Paladin Puemo, you can do that maybe next turn, as long as you have something to install in the next turn or two. But that's one of the beauties of these things. You can just discard them. You don't have to install them straight up. You only install them when you need them. Because now on 2 credits, Soup Time can't do a lot to make economy. Right? Like Liberated Counts is unplayable. It's an development here. We'll res it. It kind of ticks down, which is a bit ugly, but we do have extracts in hand, so we can just go get our 6 credits and go find a 4-coster, which is good. They can't afford to break this, so this should end the run. But envelopment comes in 5 strength, 4 subroutines. So if you want to break all of it, it's 5. If you want to break all the end of the runs, it's 4. But op gives you reasons. Fire all, of course. Now this does tick down, but we will extract it sooner than later. And Hoshiko is going to flip back because there's no access this turn. Okay, we're going to just start with Spin Doctor. All right, we have Serena. Pretty good. Into the Azyef, it's pretty rude. Now, we could trade the envelopment into a border control, but I feel like with this sort of economy, we don't really need to do that. We could do Azyef, Malapur, and then just in Smiling in front of this. We don't have that much ice for central servers or that much credits for central servers. If we do the Malapur, what are we actually getting from it? It might just be better to hedge fund and install the Azyef. Now, we need a 4-cost resed. So this is where we can start considering doing the 3 net damage combo, the 3 mixed damage combo if they go down to low hand size, which is if we extract the envelopment into a 4-coster. I do think we extract the envelopment right here. It's done its work. We get a border control. Unfortunately, the border control is... we shouldn't do that. Do you mind? So we want to actually do this in the other order, if I'm not mistaken, because we want to have this on the outside, because if they face check into this, it's actually relevant. And if they face check into the border control, it's less relevant. So we're going to extract this thing first. So we'll get the border control on the innermost. Then we'll put this on the outside. And then we'll pop this to put that back in, and then the Rashida. And we'll get this in the remote server. Yeah, I think that was better. I just want to make sure that we didn't take too many credits. But that's the idea now. They face check into this. They can take 2 net damage and then end the run, which means that in theory we can do Azyef plus Vera to do 3 damage. So there's 5 damage waiting here if they run into it. No free lunch just to get some money. Oh, this has to be in the bin. Oh, we should have another extract in hand. That's why. Okay, so that's what we messed up. I was thinking we had too few cards in hand. But that one was in the out of play and we played the second extract. So we showed that our hand has 2 extracts. If it's a bit hard to pay attention to that on JNet, but yeah, we've shown that we have an extract in hand. All right, they hit the Liberated. If they install another card and they don't have a Steelskin Scarring, we can win. Now this is an Anvil, which we can just res. We don't actually have to use its ability. It's just going to be a face check here. Again, if we had an Afshar in the slot, would we be happier? It's about comparable. Afshar does not get dealt with well, but now they have to trash one of their installed cards and lose a credit while we'll gain a credit. So this is a 3 credit res. What can they trash? Paperclip can always come back, but it is a bit expensive. We don't need to if we trash a card here. Wait, if we trash a card here, we win. Unless they have a Steelskin Scarring. Yeah, okay. So we'll trash this. We'll go get a 3-coster. We'll go get a Reaper function. We'll put it in a new remote. We've just done 5 damage. They just ran into the anvil the last click, and that's going to do 5 damage if I'm not mistaken. We can actually kill through a Steelskin Scarring, I think. So we fire all. So now the idea is the Reaper function does 2 damage, this does 2 damage, and Vera does 1 damage. And we can trash this 4-coster. So we're going to get the combo really quickly. So they trash the Paperclip. They get an Axis here, which means they'll flip, but they don't draw until their turn starts. Start a turn. So we're going to do 2 damage. If they hit a Steelskin, it gets a bit ugly. Nope. Didn't hit a Steel Skin Scarring. Advance, advance, advance. Woo! Trash that. We can go get a Vera for another damage if you really want to, but that is what the deck does. We'll do the Azef first, and then Vera does nothing. But that'll get you. Low hand size. Good game. Yeah, that's a mean one. Like, just the ability to trash. That's like the benefit of Anvil, is that it gives you the op trigger on basically any run on that server. So they ran last click, which is still scary, right? Like, if they hit a mouseless there, they would got a tag and they died at end of line. So I think that's something you might want to be careful with your risk management. But yeah, that is, I think, the worst case there. We can do 5 damage if they don't run there. If we had an Audacity, we also could have done it from hand. We didn't need the card installed, but yeah, otherwise that's the fork. Let's do one more. This is fun. All right, we're playing against Essa. We've been playing against a lot of Anarch today. A lot of good Anarch cards, a lot of good Sabotage from the new set. And we're playing our Op Funeral Barge list. We're trying to deliver Flatlines out of nowhere. All right, opening hand's like not the worst. We don't have a real proactive plan, but we have Hedge Fund. We can ice up central servers. There's a big change now with Essa when it comes to Standard, where now, or even in Startup to some extent, Essa pressures central servers, both of them quite well. Finality, let alone obviously Archives is pressured with Sabotage, and then you have the classic Chastushka for centrals. So this hand's definitely keepable. We generally want border control for the remote server. You could consider border controlling a Chastushka or Finality on the central server. Maybe actually we're okay with that. Let's see what you top deck. All right, deck doesn't have enough 3-costers in it, let me tell you. So we should fix that. But I think we're not going to do anything too aggressive here. We're just going to ice up centrals. So would we rather eat a Finality or would we rather eat a Chastushka? I feel like a Chastushka. So we'll just do that there. And then this on R&D is like fine. It's flexible. We can res it early. And sometimes it's hard to do core damage and this. Ghost Tank off the top, we're going to Sabotage too. We can get rid of a Sandstone and Unknown, but with like real 3-point agendas, this can be terrifying. We just have CityWorks projects, which are blank 5/3s in Archives. But Ghost Tank coming down. Event heavy package is pretty common, what you'd expect in these lists. And you want to generally try and do 1 core damage a turn. And while the hand size can go down, if Marrow is played, it makes our combo a bit more difficult. Can they gain 6 credits or draw cards? I think you can gain the credits. Problem with Anarch is, drawing into your good stuff. Just not enough card draw to find your breakers. Hopefully you're playing bin breakers, but generally card draw is a bit rough. The thing is also, if we give them card draw, like all their events cost 1 fewer. So yeah, Jamil, he's going to get good economy. We're going to try and limit the card draw. Spin Doctors are the premium here, and while we have ways to tutor them, it does make the value of our 1-cost extracts on like Ice Walls and Malapert pretty valuable. Leech means central server pressure is also a thing. We have a CityWorks. Are we comfortable enough to do install advance in a remote server? Probably don't have to do that. But if we did that on top of like a Serevna, that'd be pretty good. That's probably our next play. Can we res all this ice? We generally have to only res these 2. I think we can push it. This is the biggest liability, like just a big old 5/3. And if they sabotage us, we have to just do 2 from the top of R&D because we don't want to keep 1 agenda in hand. So low hand size is also like a bit of a liability against Essa. You want to spend more time drawing if you can, to some extent. We'll see if Jamil has a good trigger here for that. Buzzsaw coming down doesn't deal with many of the code gates in our deck well. Afshar is okay. Mouseless is pretty hard. We're going to Resident Development here because they're threatening that, but that could have been a last click into a Mouseless, which would give a tag, which could be a problem. We're just going to end the run. And we're able to empty our Regolith. We have a Mouseless for Centrals too. So we're just going to res this, take some money. Do we want to install this last click somewhere? Like maybe Archives. Again, Leech plus Buzzsaw does deal with Mouseless, but on its own it doesn't. And Jamil hasn't shown a Fractor yet. And it looks like they're playing Fixed Strength Breakers, not Paperclip. And I wonder if there's a deck list posted on Netrunner that we've seen a lot of people playing Fixed Strength Breakers more than I reckon you should in Standard. Maybe this is people coming over from Startup and this is what they're used to. But I do think it's such a big thing if you're expecting to take damage, like core damage, that you probably want to play the breakers you can trash and then install from the heap. It makes it a lot simpler. I'll just take some more credits. Credits are always good. Credits are usually good. Let's say that. We're drawn up again. There's the Marrow, so hand size goes up. Sabotage 2. Rip it. We lost a Rashida and an Extract. Extract is one of our tutoring cards that we can use not only to get money, but find Spin Doctors. So they are quite valuable. They only have 1 credit though. But again, like Ghost Tongue, Dirty Laundry Archives, suddenly you get a lot more credits. But Jamil here, clicking for credits. Just checking here, going to get a Leech counter. Res and move Forma Carry. No, thank you. Just seeing some ice. No big surprises so far in the list. If we hit this, it becomes a 1-coster. We do need to ice this up again. What 1-coster can we get here? It's either Ice Wall or it's Malapert. I think we do want to empty this because then we can put in the CityWorks project next turn. So we'll put a Malapert in server 1. We have to protect this because eventually it just trashes itself, which is ugly. At least then we can get a border control. But then our value's been used. So ideally we extract this envelopment like next turn. But we probably jam this next turn and just kind of force the issue. 6 hand size. Just click to 3. Installing a Behemoth. We have to do some sabotage here. I'm going to get rid of this Regolith and 1 from the top of the deck. Now our barriers are still pretty relevant. While this Behemoth breaks every barrier in our deck for only 1 credit, we can't just throw them at the face. Oh, we lost this Sarevna. Hate to see it. But now only on 3 cards in hand. I do think we can just jam this. Install Advance. If we had a Sarevna here, that's almost impossible to steal, but unfortunately it's just a mouseless. Now that is 4 damage plus 1 net damage. So that's it's a lot. And they still break the envelopment, which is a problem for us, but this forces the issue. This is one of our favorite ice in the deck because people face checking into it and it has really good subroutines and we can always just Zato it at the head. Justushka HQ, we can res the border control here. And we probably have to fire the border control, which means we can get an Afshar on HQ, which is okay. Now they can't even break this. They're 1 credit short. It's unfortunate. So we don't actually have to fire this. They just don't have the credits to break this. All right, so we get a credit back. That's 1 Justushka down. We've seen no finalities. The single first Justushka, and Jamil just doesn't have credits right now. It's a bit of a struggle. We haven't seen things like liberated accounts. There's still a lot of disruption here, and it's not based about accessing, but yeah, the economy is not exactly there. A lot of events though. Checking archives. There's nothing in there. We don't want to. We don't want to do the Formicary. But interesting enough, like next turn, this doesn't matter. We might honestly be better off not scoring this because they're probably not going to be able to score next turn and just drawing up. And well, that's fun. Drawing up and like protecting Central's a bit better because HQ gets a single access for 1. So we'll just put this in new remote server. We can afford to res this. They can't really afford to trash this. And this means we can start sniping cards from hand. Now, ideally, we play this and res it at instant speed and do some cool stuff with, what's it called? With AZF protocol. Maybe pull a Reaper function. And we still have that line. If they run into the border control last click, we can advance this and then technically do 3 damage. Vera first. Oh, no, actually, Vera won't actually do damage. Yeah, Vera can't kill with CityWorks Project. No, but if they run last click and they have too few cards in hand, we could have did we actually miss a window there where we could have border controlled and pulled a Reaper function? I hope not. Click 3, buffer drive. If that was a Reaper function, that's death. Is there any way we can trash at instant speed? No. But we can get rid of that card, and I think we can. It's going to be a bit expensive, but when in Rome. We'll do, oh, we have Malapir, that's sick. So we'll do Vera, we'll look at the hand first. So it's a Justushka. Now they can buffer drive it. Buffer drive is an incredibly expensive card. I'm not a big fan of this thing. The game is usually over before it matters. Well, there's recursions on the bottom of the deck now. Search R&D for a non-agenda card. So here we probably want to get extract because we can extract the Malapir. We have 2 Zatos. Choose up 1 card to trash from HQ. Oh yeah, Marrow. Good. Well, we were going to discard anyways. But now they have no cards in hand. So if we top deck, if they run to the border control too late in the turn, we can get them with the Reaper function. If we top deck an Audacity, and we also have to get at some point, so not exactly a top deck, but if we also get an AZF protocol, that's lethal. Okay, and they're just struggling to get their economy going. Start a turn. Okay, so I think we can consider pushing another CityWorks project. They haven't shown any resources at all. I think we definitely extract this for Spin Doctor, and then we start there. So we'll get a Spin Doctor. We'll put in a new remote server because we probably want to jam an agenda here. We have an Audacity in hand, which again with Vera and the I guess we actually probably should have extracted the envelopment, honestly. That thing's a bit of a liability. Okay, so we have a Spin Doctor, which means we don't have to worry about sabotage for a minute. We can just put this in the remote server. We can also just Audacity it, but I want to Audacity the lethal damage. And then we have a Formicary there. HQ they run for free, and we drew a bunch, so I think we can just afford to put probably the Zato here, right? Because then we Zato the envelopment to make sure that it fires. Yeah, they can hit centrals, I guess. So there's 1 Justushka left. We've seen no finalities. Or sorry, yeah, 1 because 1's on the bottom of the stack, so it's almost out of the game. Just crediting. Not really interacting. Sure gamble now. They got up to 9. That's pretty good. Now, if we score the above the law, it allows us to remove a card from hand. We could Audacity it to also jam the Rashida, but we didn't need Audacity to win the game. So I'm going to do above the law and just take the best card out of hand. So we'll score that, reveal, and trash. So it's a pinhole threading. That's pretty powerful. Retrieval run gives them access to nothing really. So we'll do the pinhole. They only have 1 card in hand. We get a sabotage 1, which again, we have too many cards in our hand. Anvil, I think Anvil is actually pretty okay. Mouseless is like, the thing is like Anvil, they actually can't break while they can leech a Buzzsaw, a Mouseless. The cool thing about Anvil is that they run last click, we can go get a Reaper function. But the low hand size here is a huge liability because the Aziev, well, it'll win us the game. All right, they're rezzing, they're running. It's a Formicary. I think we can just afford to res that. It's either 2 net damage or end the run. It's their choice again, so they don't have to take damage off of this thing. It's a sentry and they don't have a killer yet. So they're just going to fire that. Let's see if they go through. They go through, they die to any single damage. They lost a Retrieval in the Marrow, so they're accessing with no cards in hand. Now, I wouldn't expect Snare to be in this deck, but Snare is lethal. Leech gets a trigger. They just need to start seeing cards here, right? Like, you can expect Audacity maybe in Standard. And if they see the top of the deck, unless we shuffle before mandatory draw, we can't draw the winning Aziev. And there's 3 of them in 23 cards. They have 9 credits though, so they can trash a lot. They trash the Zato City Grid, that's fine. We have 1 in their remote server, and now we're drawing an unknown card, which is actually better for us. I do think a lot of people are scared of Zato for obvious reasons, and we do have Zato on the remote. Spin Doctor, we're going to use that. I think, yeah, we probably do use that. So we get the extract because we want to extract away. I think we just do double extract. Actually, pulling back to Serevna is not bad either because we could extract the envelopment to get Serevna. I do think we should have done extract in Serevna. Oh, okay. Well, we can get her anyways. So if we do install advance, that's probably good enough. They need to get huge cards in hand, but I want to be able to res throw the Mouseless. So I'm going to do this, crash it, get a Forecaster. We'll get an Unsmiling. We'll put it on server 1. Then we push this behind it, install advance because we can Audacity this thing out. So this is 3 me damage. But if we Zato them, the Unsmiling Serevna, that's more damage. And then if they run through the Mouseless, that's more damage. So if they want to run through the server, it's going to be 3. It's going to be 1 damage, 2 damage from this for sure. 1 damage from the Mouseless, 3 damage from the City Works project. And with the Zato, we'll be able to trash the Mouseless and we can just go get a Reaper function. So this is like pretty locked out. And that should be it. Top of the deck, advance, Audacity, score out to 8. Good game. Yeah, the economy just wasn't there, unfortunately. It's kind of hard. A lot of disruption for sure. But if the core damage takes cards out of hand, admittedly replaces them with Essa, thanks for the game. I do want to see their hand. Ghost Tongue, Sure Gamble, Wildcat Strike, Dirty Laundry. We'll take out this Sure Gamble. Yeah, this very stayed on the table. It did trigger a couple times, and it makes just runs on central servers a bit difficult. Now, 3 credits isn't a lot. We didn't protect it, but the idea with this card is it's part of our kill combo, of course. All right, let's do another one. All right, playing against Mara. It's on Nova, so we get to see a Singleton deck. It's a powerful deck. I've enjoyed what I've played of Nova so far. A heck of a lot more than Ampere, that's for sure. But it's kind of hard to tell what they're capable of. You're definitely going to expect to see Endurances and World Trees, and those are very powerful cards, thanks you too. And the issue too is it's kind of hard to play around because maybe you get Diversion, who knows? Opening hand's not great. STS drone deployment early. Again, they run generally, they actually are playing 41 cards. I cannot get there. I'm going to mulligan this. If the Spin Doctor hit ice, we'd be in a good spot. This is like comparable. All right, and we're off. This is our Funeral Barge deck. It's an op kill combo deck, and we do want to get some combos. I do think we can just push in the remote server. But just get Rashida down. Having a big 3-1 in hand is kind of bad, and we're totally blown out here by the diversion of funds, but it's a one of. Maybe they don't have it. Dirty Laundry HQ, don't hit the agenda. Spin Doctor, they're going to probably take that down. You generally want to hit those if you can. But again, if you haven't seen Nova yet, Infinite Influence, but only 1 of per any card. But you can play any card in the game largely. Telework coming down. Tapeworm, good economy there. I think we might as well do Yako and Rashida. Again, Yakov just gets paid back, and then from then on, it's just gas. Can we deal with this? Their economy is generally a bit limited, so we do want to make sure that we are keeping it a bit in check. Getting actually a Vera would be kind of good because they have a lot of singletons and not a lot of recursion, so that can help you. Now, we do have probably just give them a credit this turn and purge next turn. So let's try and install 3 cards here. Vera out there. Now we can do Formicary on HQ. Border control on HQ is also fine too. And we can just do this on R&D and then see what they do for a turn. And next turn we can purge and, you know, it buys them a whole turn, but let's see if they trash a Vera. Now Vera is in the deck. We want to pull her at instant speed to be able to do 3 damage with Aziefs on score, which is pretty cool. And they're going to trash that for 3. So that was 4 influence, but we do want that in our deck because it's only really good if we pull it at instant speed. So here I think we just purge. It's also good to trash that thing while we have SDS drone deployment. It's a 1 of in the list, but it's a pretty easy score for them or steal for them. And here we can do Spin Doctor. Oh, they didn't trash the Spin Doctor, but they're dealing with Yakov, which I like. I think you do have to deal with Yakov. The thing is, if they trash Yakov, we get our money back. Fire. Losing an inside job, that's a good hit, but the deck is just basically all the good cards, so every hit's good. Res and move Formicary, I don't think we need to do that. So you can trash Yakov, we'll get 2 credits. Right? Whenever a player trashes a card, including this upgrade from the root of the server, except during installation again, shouldn't I gain 2 credits? They trashed it from the root of the server. Weird. Okay, that doesn't work. I'm pretty sure I should. Yeah, neat. All right. We have to build a better server than that, and maybe Spin Doctor will help us. We don't want to put Spin Doctor in the remote server. Oh, that's not good. Can't do much here. We can put Yakov in their remote server, just force them through the mouseless. I don't know how they're going to deal with that well. They haven't found their boat yet, which is great. We can kind of just force this. Now, at this point, we've gone through about 15 cards of our deck and haven't scored an agenda. So they can assume that there's agendas in HQ, and they probably should go there. There's a Nuka. Good enough card, especially if you get the World Tree, can make this into anything else. Deuce is Wild, exposing the border control in HQ. So they have to make a run here. It can be as simple as running a Spin Doctor or into the Formicary. The Spin Doctor here, I don't know if we actually, yeah, we probably do pop that. So bring back the Vera and we'll bring back the Rashida. We do have a Yakov already in the remote server. So we might extract the Malapur. Becomes quite good. You can go get another Spin Doctor. The thing is, like, we have a Spin Doctor and Rashida will be res. They'll know what's in the server. We just need another good piece of ice here because they haven't shown any actual breakers. And the consistency on finding breakers is kind of a question mark in this deck. Well, they're definitely going to run SMC in mutual favor. And I think the World Tree is a big one here. We'll see how that goes. All right. Double Reaper. Hate it. But maybe they have to deal with that. All right. Well, at least we can get those back in the deck. We'll res this. Okay. Ugly. Now, if they don't deal with one of these Reapers and we chop deck an Audacity, we actually can do 5 damage because we can fast advance Azyaf if we draw an Audacity, trash the Mouseless to go get a Vera, and then if these Reapers survive, we're in an okay spot. Funny enough, the Reaper is actually trigger on top of Yakov if we put him there. Running Archives here. That's haunting. They have a lot of cards. Mutual favor. Let's see I think an Amakua, right? Maybe an Angolo. It's an Angolo. So this does break code gates plus once per turn for a bit of money, something else. And we can do, oh, if we top deck, we have lethal. They're charging this server here. Okay, this is very interesting. Because if they take the net damage, I don't know how good that is. Okay, so this, they break for 2, 3, 4, 5 credits. They can save a credit. And they do have the overclock money, but the stuff in here is pretty expensive. They might just give us a credit as well. All right, so we gain a credit. That's good. So what's the chance of top decking Audacity? Because if we top deck an Audacity, we have to fire the Reapers right away. So do we hit the Spin Doctor? They're getting 3 more credits. So here they have 8 credits, so they can deal with this. I will pop the Spin Doctor. I guess we'll put a Yakov back in. We actually probably could let them trash the Spin Doctor. It probably would have been better. Yeah, I think we should let them trash the Spin Doctor. Res and move Formicary. Oh, I messed that up. If we res and move Formicary here, I think we do. And if they take the net damage here, mind you, they can paint this. But if they take the net damage here, we actually have lethal. But I think they're just going to paint it. Yeah, now with 5 credits, at least one of these stays. We could have protected the Spin Doctor. We did not need to pop the Spin Doctor there for sure. Mind you, there's an overclock behind here. It's a Malapur. They know these are upgrades. There's the Yakov. You do have to bring that down. The card is low-key gas. And let's see, if we top deck an Audacity, we're in a really good spot. Like, we could have got lethal. Oh, we'd actually be a credit short, excuse me. Okay. So we can extract the Formicary to just get an Ice Wall. We have way too many cards in hand. So I think we just do set up a lethal here. So this is going to be a bit dodgy, but we extract this. Install a 1-coster. Actually, leaving that there would be fine. We could have actually extracted anything else. So we'll put an Ice Wall on server 1. Now they can break that for credits. We put this in here. And we put that in there. Now the idea is, if they don't run this and we have at least 8 credits, that's 6 damage. Now if they do run it, we have enough money to like throw the net damage mouseless at them. And it actually might have been worth keeping the Formicary to throw 2 net damage if they want to get through the server. Now Diesel to draw. We haven't seen a Stone Ship chart room yet, but that actually does beat this combo. Same with technically, what's it called? The Citadel Sanctuary would beat this, but again, they're all generally singletons. Earthrise Hotel, that's lethal. That actually is lethal because they didn't run any of these. Res, start. Do 2 net. Unless they have they could in theory have a, what's it called? But the Vera actually helps. They could have a Stone Chip chart room. Or it's not, sorry, a Steelskin Scarring. Install a 2-coster, no. So we hit a Pinhole and a Clot. Trash this one. Well, we hit a K2CP and a Diversion of Funds. So we just do advance, advance, advance. All right. We'll trash that. We could get a Vera, which is not going to trigger. Well, it technically triggers first. Server 1. Oh, no, 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 no. Hold on. Whoops. You want to do a new server, otherwise it destroys the agenda. We'll trash that. We'll do install 3 cost. Vera. New remote. Vera. See the card in hand. Into the depths. 2 meat. Overkill. But hey, one in Rome. Good game. That's a tricky line. Nova is a lot of fun. Been really enjoying Nova, that's for sure. But yeah, they didn't check the stuff on the table and we didn't do anything with them. So a lot of times you think it might not be anything. They had an alright start. They went good. They didn't get the boat. They did get the Angola, which helps a lot. Hey, cheers. Cheers. You too. Thanks for the game. But has another lethal combo. You can do it. It's really awkward when you draw those because ideally we install those clicklessly if they run last click and we like use Zato them or border control. But if you have them, just put them on the table. Let's do one more. All right, it's Funeral Barge. We played against almost exclusively Anarchs and a bit of Criminal. Just new Sabotage cards are good. We have a Serevna in hand, which is great. We have to watch out for Steel Skin Scarring, but also the cool thing with Essa now is there's a lot of pressure on both central servers. So this hand, we could consider just Serevna into Rashida. That's good enough. We have the Reaper in hand, which is a bit ugly, but yeah, it's hard to tell. I think you're more likely to see a Chastushka early than maybe a Finality, but we have to make sure that we keep extra cards in hand because yeah, it's a lot of sabotage going on right now, and we only have 3 spin doctors. I wonder if until the meta calms down and people tire from the sabotage decks, maybe running even more recursion could help. All right, we're gonna put Serevna on the remote server. It works with our Zato play again. We want to get low cards in hand and capitalize on that. And here we can either ice up HQ if we really wanted to, maybe delay a Chastushka. If they Chastushka for 3 credits on turn 1, I don't think we're that upset about it. Or we can put the Reaper in the remote server, or in a new remote server. And in theory, I think I'm gonna do that. Because in theory, if they hit this, we won't be able to res this as well because we can't res a start a turn. That's a 7 credit play. But there's some world where, oh, they're checking that. They probably have to trash that for 3 credits, huh? Or 2 credits, excuse me. At least that goes back in the deck and we can spin doctor that back. But our spin doctors are generally pretty busy. That's just chilling. Don't really expect this one. But yeah, if you trash that now, it's hard to play like Sure Gamble or any of your economy cards like Liberated Accounts. Now, a lot of these Essa decks are playing Ghost Tongue. Oh, they just left it. Love it. There's the Ghost Tongue. We can sabotage some. I'm just going to go rip top of the deck. We lost our Afshar and our Yakov and just straight into the remotes. They have 1 credit. Whoa. We almost got them. Yeah, I'll just res that. We don't need to let them gain. Bravado. Now we are going to lose the Rashida, so our credits are not very good. At least here we get them a tag, which they have to be scared of. And the line is in the format. Fire all. So draw 2 cards. We hit a Hip Owner Fermenter. We'll draw 2. We're looking for an Extract, which is our playable rescue economy. And if they clear the tag, we're like 2 credits short of the Reaper, that's for sure. And that's it. That's a good face check. Now that could have been a Mouseless, which actually would have been probably worse. It would give us a credit, but the card draw there is really good. So now it's either clear a tag, and we're 2 credits short of this. So they're trashing that instead. So they could die to end the line here. Now we're not playing it, but that's obviously the threat. Okay, now Zato on the remote server is lethal as long as we have credit. So we do install advanced credit. So I think we just do install credit. But we Zato them. Like they can't run through this again. They're going to have to clear the tag. So I think we're just going to do credit. We could consider icing up HQ. But again, I don't expect them to hit us with a Chastushka Finality at this point. Again, Ghost Tongue makes a lot of sense. Bravado's good value. They probably want to clear the tag at some point. I don't think they're running a lot of resources. Man, I've been liking Serevna a lot. Big recovery there. Sure Gamble for 5. And then they clear the tag. Game 3, draw 3, good. We're back on track. Find a -1. No, thank you. All right, so we have Vera. If Vera sticks on the table, we can actually fast advance away an Azief to do 3 damage. It plays around Steel Skin Scarring if they're on 2 cards, which is when it would be lethal. It actually does not play around Steel Skin Scarring. If they have 1 card, you would do the Azief first, and it does play around Steel Skin Scarring. But how do we do this? I do think we need Zato on the remote server. We could put this in a new remote server just to force them to do stuff. I do think we need to recover our economy and probably ice up Essential. We're going to discard a card here. And the Anvil's actually not bad, considering they only have 1 card installed. And they're going to install a lot of like Cybernetics. The barriers are not very good in this list because they are running Begamot usually. I do think Tremolo might be a better card. Yeah, I think R&D, like this is safe. It's just the Chastushka here. Throwing out an Extract feels really bad, but we don't have any good targets right now. And we do want to get the 2 Mouselesses down because the Anarchs don't deal with it that well. And it's actually a pretty good card to throw at people with the Zato. And next turn we consider do it install advance. Again, I don't know how they break this. Maybe they're on Mimic, but MK Ultra doesn't deal with this well. And of course we have a Zato, so we can just kind of launch it at them. All right, do we want to score out? Maybe. If we do that, it's install advance, we go down to 8 credits. It's before they get a Marrow down, which is like kind of nice. They're on 13. They've played 2 Gambles, a Dirty Laundry, and a Bravado. So we're expecting, all 3 of those in the deck for sure. I think we can just ice up a bit. So we can do Ice, Hedge Fund, Ice. Then next turn, we probably do install advance. The Vera is a card that we could maybe put on the table and force them to interact with it. But more often than not, it's a card we want to pull at instant speed from our deck using op. So I don't know if it'll hit the table. All right, they can't steal the SDS drone deployment, so this is pretty good. We're going to res the Mouseless. It's good to get 4 costers resed for all the tricks we can do. And this is going to fire to do a net damage, give them a tag. They lost another Bravado, so that's all 3 Bravados accounted for. That's a 3 influence. But they do get good money here, and they access the Vera. Probably going to trash that, which we're totally fine with that. That's a scary one. That's a really scary one for sure. Cost the best card in your hand. Is that worth 3 credits? Yeah, usually. But it does cost us 3 to res it. We have a Zato on their Moan server, so I think we can just go install advance and start getting towards game point. Again, we don't have much else to do here. Now, we don't actually have to res anything because they need a program to deal with this, and they haven't shown a program yet. We've got 1 down so far. We've trashed 1 Fermenter. There's a Dreamnet. It's pretty good, so that's going to give them a card. And Saucy's going to be now on 14 credits, a second Dirty Laundry. Again, the event economy technically runs out at some point, but the game is going to be over long before I think that comes around. They installed like a program here last click. That's kind of the best case for us. This is admittedly a bit expensive. But yeah, if they don't install a lot of cards, the Anvil actually is like not bad whatsoever. Give us a Fermenter. We'll trash a Fermenter. I don't want to score this and trash nothing. We might actually not score that then. Paperclip in the bin. Okay, so they are on bin breakers. Ooh, I do think we need to empty this out. Is there anything we want to extract? Like we can always extract the Mouseless to go get an Afshar, which is like comparable. We'll just go for it. Again, if they're running bin breakers, the window on this is really ugly. It's the only one of in our deck, or the one agenda in our deck. All the other ones are IZFs above the lot, and then the CityWorks. And CityWorks is a really good fork. As long as we have the economy to sustain it, the idea is that they can't deal with the damage from Zatoed, Mouseless, Serevna, and also deal with the CityWorks. I'm going to res this here. Again, we're like, our economy's pretty bad. But the question is, they can't break this. And so they have to trash one of their 2 installed cards, and it's probably to Dreamnet. Trash another card. We could actually consider that. We could trash a 4-coster to get a 3-coster. All the 3-costers in our deck is ice though. If we could trash a 2-coster to get a Regolith, or a 3-coster, excuse me, to get a Regolith, I think we would do it. So we get a credit back and they have to trash one of their installed cards. So yeah, Dreamnet down. That's probably a 1 of in the deck, maybe a 2 of. Single Axis gets nothing. These are good ice. Anvil's, we're trying to get out. It's actually not been bad. And if they run last click into it, we can always like pull a Reaper function, which is quite cute. Daily Cast comes down. We're on only 2 credits. So we have to do something about that. I think we could consider extracting the Mouseless to get an Afshar in HQ. I think we just have to get back into the game. Like we can't just click for credits. It's way too slow. They haven't sabotaged a lot. So 3-coster. We'll get... Oh, the Afshar's in the bin. Oh, that's way worse. So I guess a Sandstone, but they can break that. Hate it. But we committed to it. Draw last click is pretty bad, but you generally want to, like if we drew into our Sandstone, it'd be even worse. So like that's one of the weird times where drawing last is not the worst. And we have an AZF protocol. We haven't drawn a Spin Doctor yet, but if we can do the AZF protocol and then trash a 4-coster to get the Vera on the table, if it's in our deck, like that's a line we have out. So if we have an Audacity, we're in an okay spot. Top of that, if they ever run last click into an Anvil, we can trash the 4-coster. Even with Zato, we trash the Serevna, and then we go get 2 damage from this, and then 2 damage from the Reaper function, and then 2 damage from this, which is not likely to be lethal if they're holding in hand Steel Skin Scarring, so we haven't seen any yet. Liberate on the table. Ugly. How much money do we have? I think we just push this, install advance. If they steal it, it's like, okay. But the longer the game goes on, the worse it is for us. And again, to steal this, we can spend all our money to res Mouseless Zato, and then we can throw net damage, throw 2 net damage, so they need 4, 5, 6, 7 cards. Again, Steel Skin Scarring does change that. And the best thing is that, Zenith. Choose up to 2 from the deck. Most of our agendas are in hand. We lost 1 AZF. But now they draw when they run here. So this is an agenda and a draw. pretty good. It's first time on a central server, so this plus DreamNet gets a bit nonsense. They also threw out a Katorga, which means they're probably on Chistushka or like really powerful events. So they're gonna let us have this, which is kind of scary because at that point, Extract can end the game. And the quicker we get to game point, the more aggressive they have to be, which kind of favors us because we do need to catch them out of nowhere. They only have 3 hand sizes. Well, they only have 3 hand size? The CityWorks projects are hard to deal with. We haven't seen a Marrow yet, but it's only a matter of time. They're going to lose 2 cards here unless they install a Time Bomb. They did run a central server, so now they just discard 1. Could be a Heatbreaker. It's pretty good for them. If we score this, we don't have a lot of money. We're down to 4. Where are our Reaper functions? 1 Reaper's out, 1 Vera's out. We top deck an Above the Law. All right, well, we just hold on to those again in Audacity. Wow. Tread lightly, not expecting that. We, in theory, don't have to score this out. I think it's fine to do it. I'm worried about Chistushkas now, but at that point, we just sabotage the top of the deck. In terms of points in the deck, right? Like 3, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. There's only 5 points and 24 cards in R&D. So that's 2 agendas, if I'm not mistaken. It's just 1 CityWorks and 1 Ozyaf. So we can sabotage from R&D freely. Now they're going in here. The SDS is scored, so this actually can be a huge rip. They could win right here. 4 to break, it's only going to get cheaper. They hit a Serevna. That's great. A lot of agendas in there. If we top deck an Audacity, we do win here. Time Bomb's ticking up. It'll fire in 2 more turns. It has to hit 3, and then it's the next turn that it fires. And it's really hard now when they're only at 2 points, right? They're going back. Okay. We could get unlucky here for sure. If they steal the CityWorks, it's pretty bad. Yeah, I wish we had an Afshar there. Extract. Whoa, they hit the 2 non-agendas. It's only getting cheaper. No, that is massively unlucky. Wow, that's 3 40% in a row. And now we can put the Serevna there. It's going to be most of our money, but like this thing, it's actually worth keeping around because it fuels the anvil. All right, we did not top deck our Audacity 2 in 23. I do think the Sandstone, we can consider just extracting it. Then we can get a 2-coster in their remote server, get like a Regolith, and we can put the Serevna on HQ. Yeah, that's fine. I don't think we have any other 2-costers. Oh, we have Yakov. Yeah, I think we just do Yakov in the remote server, right? Then we just set up a fork here where we put this on HQ. Now we have too many agendas in there, that's for sure. The problem is if they just keep hitting HQ, they win. But then if we get this into server 1, yeah, we could lose here, actually. We really could lose. It all comes down to the CityWorks project, which is a blank 5-3 in central servers, which, you know, it's no Obokata protocol, but it does get scary when installed. There's a higher ceiling than Obokata. So this is a lot of damage. And we have no more 3-costers in the deck, though. So it's like these 4-costers, when they're Zatoed, excuse me, not Yakoved, when they're Zatoed, they can become nothing else, really. We probably should be playing another 3-coster in the list. It's not that unlikely we draw both of them. 3 clicks left. They hit the Liberate. We haven't seen a Chistushka or Finality yet, which we're expecting. And again, there's not a lot of agendas in R&D, so they Finality us, so be it. They know that we have a Serevna, which is likely to be here, which is kind of hard to run into. 2 net damage is a fair bit, but now they're going for the remote server, so we cannot kill them. Thinking, hold on. Do we Zato this? No, this fires, right? Oh, they both fire. So we give them a tag. Yeah, I think this is fine. Oh, good. So we can consider Zatoing the Serevna, but the Serevna will fire anyways. The reason why we would Zato is that we can get a 3-coster from our deck. Unfortunately, there are no relevant 3-costers anymore. Wait, is Vera out? Vera is out, yeah. Fire all. Didn't hit a Steel Skin. They hit a Running Hot. They could have played that this turn. Do we Zato this to get a 3-coster? If we Zato this, we can give... They just jack out. They respected it. They respected it. And if we Zatoed this, we would have done 2 damage. And then we also could have got, what's it called? The last Reaper function. And then they have to decide which way to go. But unfortunately, that's also the win in their remote server. And this is not lethal. Good game. Finality and Chistushka in hand. They had both their pressure cards. Oh, those HQ runs? I had 3 agendas in there. You missed 3 runs in a row. Yeah, that was wild. Yeah, their HQ pressure unfortunately whiffed. I don't know if we should have got away with that one. I don't think we actually had a lethal fork here. If we had another 3-cost dice, I think we definitely did. If we pulled an Afshar there, we'd be fine. I do think we drop one of the anvils just for like an Enigma. That's probably good enough. I don't think we have the influence for like Magnet. Or yeah, an Afshar would be fine as well. But yeah, that actually really helps. But we do have a fork here. It's really hard. It's 3 damage. If they steal that, it's fine. And then we can always pull out again the Reaper function. So we had end the runs. Yeah, that actually would have worked a bit better. Sometimes flooding is okay. You do get lucky, but that's this deck. And this deck is really fun. There's like some really good forks and some good lines. I don't think it's optimized entirely yet. I do think like there's some very interesting one-ofs that you can put into the deck. I think the amount of 3-cost ice is a bit low. I think you can consider cards like Prisec. I think you could maybe consider, what's it called? I had Neurospike in here, but it's really hard when a lot of times you end up audacity your hand anyways. But there's a really high ceiling to this thing, and it's just so much fun, and there's some good surprises. You have to play around Steelskin Scarring, but just forking people with like damage from the deck is good fun. Thanks for watching. Hey, hopefully you enjoyed that. Again, this deck has been an absolute blast to play. I just find playing op where you have so much options, you have so much flexibility and freedom on what you want to do. It just kind of opens up every game. And even editing the gameplay, editing and looking back on the footage, you can tell there's like certain lines that maybe you could see and that I didn't see, maybe I see now, right? And it just makes me want to go back and play it. Again, I think there's a lot of options with this deck to do more explosive kills, whether we want to do an acid-based op deck, whether we want to play Vientian Keeling. I think those are both really quite exciting. Of course, here you're seeing names of all the nice folks that support the channel. Huge thank you to everyone who helps support myself and the channel so I can spend more time doing this great stuff. I'd be really excited to know how you all are enjoying Parhelion. It's only been out for a couple days. We're going to have the set reviews or our tier lists coming out on Yusengren's channel and my channel in a couple weeks. Again, there's not going to be a stream next week because of the holidays, but hopefully you're enjoying yourself and having a good holiday season. We'll be back in a bit, and we should have some gameplay recorded for the future. Enjoy Parhelion, y'all. Ciao.